Talking about using technology, our next keynote speaker is going to share with you some very exciting discussion around how some of the potential technology, particularly robotics and automation, can be unleashed. As all you know, right, Singapore takes a very important emphasis around how we build our structures. Regulations, making sure that the technology is proven and ready to be deployed. Some of these considerations are not just paper-based. We really get into serious action. I have now the pleasure to invite Dr. Ng Xiao Piao from the Building and Construction Authority to share with us his discussion around how potential technologies in robotics and automation in the build industry can be unleashed. So, my pleasure to invite Dr. Ng. Thank you. The stage is yours.
All right. Okay. A very good morning to everyone. And thanks, Oliver, for the kind introduction. So I'm Xiao Piao from BCA, Building and Construction Authority. I'd like to thank the organizers for having me here today to share on unlocking the potential of robotics and automation for the built environment in Singapore. I noted that there are some international attendees among the audience today, and hence I thought it's useful to share a little bit more about what the Building and Construction Authority does in Singapore. We have two key roles that we perform. One is the regulatory function, where we ensure the safety of our buildings. The other key role that we play is in industry development, where I'm from, where we drive industry transformation. So I recall 5 years ago, when I took on my current role at BCA, we were still figuring out how to launch the first call for proposals for robotics and automation solutions. 5 years later, today, I'm happy to say that we have made much progress, and this presentation here today shares an overview of what we have achieved over the past 5 years. So before deep diving into what we have achieved locally, I'd like to share a global perspective on construction technologies worldwide. And this McKinsey study here reveals something interesting. There are actually 4 constellations, of which one of them talks about 3D printing, modularization, and robotics, while the other talks about artificial intelligence and analytics. So together, what it means for us is that there's more opportunities for off-site construction by leveraging on artificial intelligence as well as robotics and automation. There are also opportunities for us to introduce automation and robotics to our on-site construction works. Okay, so moving on, as Senior Minister of State mentioned yesterday, okay, our sector has recovered well from the pandemic, and we can do better. So just last year, in 2022, we launched the refreshed Industry Transformation Map during IBEW in September. So under this refreshed ITM, we reviewed our vision, and we've introduced the key enablers, which includes innovations and technologies as one of them. So let me just briefly share a little bit more about these 3 key pillars, IPD, AMA, and SUS. So we talk about advanced manufacturing and assembly. So what it really means is that we want to move our on-site constructions to off-site, into the factory settings, which means that we will do the manufacturing of our components off-site, transport it to on-site for assembly. All right? So that will actually help us to improve our productivity, and that is where robotics automation can come into greater play. But I also like to highlight the importance of IPD, Integrated Planning and Design, as well as SUS. So with IPD, what we are trying to do is that we want to think about the design up front, when you plan up front. Okay, so for example, if you want to introduce the use of robotics in our construction sites, how do we design our buildings so that the cleaning robots can then maneuver around within the buildings? And of course, with the sustainable urban systems, that include operations and maintenance as well. And that is where we talk about facilities management, where we are already seeing cleaning robots being activated in various commercial buildings. So all in, robotics and automation, okay, is actually applicable to all the three pillars of our refresh ITM. So why should we look into robotics and automation? Okay, so there are some impetus for us to do so. First of all, the construction industry, the built environment sector, we have many repetitive tasks. Okay, we have our workforce that conducts cleaning every day. We have our workforce on construction sites as well. So there's a lot of labor-intensive tasks, and they are repetitive as well. Increasingly, we are seeing a shortage of manpower, as we have experienced during the pandemic. I think we have learned from that, and that has expedited our transformation journey. And of course, I think increased manpower costs as well. And lastly, there's a potential of high-risk activities, which I'll share a little bit more later when we talk about facade cleaning. So we have our guys who are up there in the gondolas and so on. So that poses a high risk. So what are some of the strategies that we leverage on to actually proliferate R&A, robotics and automation adoption? So this is a three-pronged approach. All right. So 5 years ago, when I was on this job, I was looking into driving R&D programs, okay, and then driving research and innovations, trying to do R&D to develop new robotics solutions. After a while, I realized that, hey, there are some other solutions, ready solutions out there in the market, in other sectors, or in some other parts of the world. So that is when I realized that, hey, we need to do some form of adaptations from other sectors or from other countries, and we facilitate the deployment. And lastly, if the solution is ready, okay, how do we then drive adoption, okay, to bring about the productivity gains that we hope to see? And we do that through partnering our fellow agencies, the GPEs, okay, the government procurement entities that have a lot of projects, and also our private developers. Work with them, okay, to bring about the adoption of effective solutions that bring about productivity gains. All right, so before deep diving into what we have done for each of the three strategies, this is just an overview, all right, of what we have so-called analyzed in terms of the R&A solutions that are available out there. All right, so we did this with constructions and facilities management in mind. So if you look at the top right-hand quadrant, here's some of the solutions that we have identified and we thought we can push for greater adoption. Includes the use of drones for facade inspections, the use of floor cleaning robots, as well as materials transporter robots that can be applied on the construction sites. There are, of course, other solutions like security robots, which other agencies will be interested in, and of course, things like landscaping robots, which other agencies are interested in as well. So basically, we did this mapping, okay, to identify solutions that we feel are ready, okay, able to bring productivity gains, and solutions that the industry, okay, can adopt. Okay, so the area one, which is probably something that is probably very close to deployment and currently being deployed, and that is where we work with our fellow agencies to bring about the adoptions. Area number two, okay, these are probably agency specific. So for example, landscaping robots are probably more applicable to my colleagues in national parks. And the third area, things that are ready for deployment, but probably need a little bit of adaptations, okay, to fit into the local context. And to do that, I think we help them with trials and some adaptation works. And lastly, we have the research and innovations in the fourth bottom left quadrant, where we talk about technologies that need to be developed in the longer term. Okay, so moving on to the first strategy that we have, research and innovation in the cutting-edge technologies for robotics and automation solutions. So I'm happy to share that since 2018, BCA has been partnering the National Robotics Program to run the Built Environment Robotics R&D program. So in 2018, we launched our first grant call, and we have subsequent grant calls after that. A number of projects have been completed and so on. And today, I'd like to highlight 3 projects over here. Okay, the first one is actually by Geonomics Private Limited, SME, a local small and medium enterprise firm in Singapore. The second one is by a Panasonic R&D Center in Singapore, MNC. And the third one is by a public research performer from A-Star. So the uniqueness, I think the common thing about these 3 projects is that they will all help us to bring about productivity gains. So for example, the track robotics surveyor basically help us to reduce the amount of manpower that we need to collect measurements on the site, okay, before we carry out any works. And the one by Panasonic, that's into smart inspections. Definitely, I think we do a lot of inspection works. And by using a robotics solution, all right, we reduce the amount of manpower that we need to carry out the manual inspections. And lastly, I think by A-Star ARTC, we are looking into remote control earthworks, all right, with the eventual goal of looking into how autonomous vehicles, autonomous excavators, and so on. Okay, yeah, something about 3D printing, extracted from the Digital Concrete 2020. I think Mr. Asman has shared quite a fair bit about 3D printing earlier on. So this is something that R&D is still ongoing. There are still some gaps to be filled. And what Digital Concrete has shown here is that in the near term, all right, we can look into off-site architectural 3D printing. In the medium term, feasibility studies for 3D printed landed properties. And in the next 10 to 15 years, the longer term, all right, multi-story buildings. Of course, I'm happy to say that things have moved much faster on the ground. I think we see Cabina printing single-story buildings. I think my colleagues at the Housing and Development Board, they have also done quite a fair bit of work in 3D printing as well. Okay, for the solutions that we are looking to adapt, so the first one is actually a autonomous materials transporter. So here I have an example, AIBotics by Evidence. From the image over here, it's quite clear that this is found in a local factory setting without any rugged terrains. So basically, I think in Singapore, in the logistics sector, okay, in a factory settings, with very well-defined layouts, all right, the use of materials transporters, okay, to transport heavy loads is actually quite prevalent. So I think the idea that we have is that how do we then customize such solutions, all right, such that it can be used on site, okay, in construction sites where we have rugged terrains, okay, because in everyday's work, right, there's a lot of heavy materials going on in the construction sites. So the use of material transporters will definitely help. Drilling robots, all right, so I think a lot of drilling work goes on in our sites every day. Trust me, it's not easy if you have to drill something from heights, okay, holding that drill for long hours every day. So what we've realized is that globally, actually there are quite a number of solutions from Japan, Hong Kong, even from the US, that produces this drilling robots. So again, I think for different building typologies, the drilling task can be slightly different. So we are also looking into how we can bring in some of these overseas drilling solutions and then customize them for our own local needs. Okay, facade cleaning. Okay, this is something that is, it's something that we probably have to explore, all right, in the sense that I'm not sure how many of you knows how we do facade cleaning today, but if you read the news, you'll notice that there were news articles of our workers in the process of facade cleaning, an accident happened, and lives are being lost. So facade cleaning robots help us to actually remove the risk of working at heights, improve productivity, reduce the number of workers that we need to put into the gondolas to clean the facades. So, but having said that, right, while we have seen facade cleaning robots available globally, in fact, some are already in Singapore. In fact, if you have time, you go up to the exhibition hall, you will see a facade cleaning solution out there. Okay, so I recall that a couple of years ago, when I was in the Netherlands, I noticed that there are a lot of buildings with glass panels and so on. And the facade cleaning robot was actually in action to clean up the glass panels. So in Singapore, our designs are a little bit more unique, all right? So we are still trying to figure out how the facade cleaning robots can be adapted, okay, to fit our local building designs. But in time to come, we foresee that we will be able to deploy some of these solutions. Okay, moving on to the third strategy, driving mass adoption of R&A solutions. So the first one is drones. Okay, sometimes people call them flying robots. So drones for periodic facade inspection. So the periodic facade inspection regime was introduced in 2020, and it kick-started in 2022. The key idea is that we wanted to have a safer built environment. So for buildings that are 20 years old or more, they'll need to carry out inspections more frequently. So how we do it today is that we have the certified personnel, all right, on the ground, surveying the building, looking out for potential defects and so on. And if there's a need for investigations, the guy will have to go up to the buildings to take a closer look. But what we have done over the years is that we have drone providers, okay, who have developed these inspection capabilities. So in today's context, what is needed is that these service providers can fly the drone up to the buildings, move close up to the buildings, and do a thorough inspections of the buildings looking for defects. So this is a good example of how robotics and AI can be integrated together to actually serve a specific function. In this case, buildings inspection. So how did we drive adoption for this? So I think even prior to the rolling out of the periodic facade inspection regime, we actually conducted multiple workshops with the industry. We need to educate everyone that, hey, there's a new technology. It's possible to use it to replace the human inspectors, all right, that needs to go up and down the buildings and so on. So fly the drone up, capture the images for analysis and so on. And we also develop industry guidelines to encourage our fellow, the GPEs, okay, the government agencies, on how to procure the drones to inspect their building projects. Okay, floor cleaning robots. Okay, so the images here are common scenes in Singapore. All right, if you go to Changi Airport, you see this in action. Okay, if you come to our BCA Braddell campus, you see the cleaning robots in action as well. So this is something that is going to help us in the longer term because in time to come, we realize that our cleaning workforce, okay, is reducing in size. It's harder to find people who are willing to come into the cleaning trade. So how do we then overcome this problem? So I think cleaning robots is one good solution. And again, okay, we educated the industry, the end building owners, through the workshops and seminars to share with them on what cleaning robots can do for them. And we also have incentives, which I'll share a little bit more later on, where building owners can tap on certain schemes to purchase these robots for their cleaning functions. Okay, smart inspection R&A solutions. I think this is quite relevant, very relevant during the pandemic times when we do a lot of inspections, okay, safe distancing and worksite safeties and so on. So this is a very mature technologies. There are quite a number of solution providers out there that does inspection works. What I would like to highlight here is that together with IMDA, okay, there is this industry digital plan, right, that describes how our local firms, in particular the SMEs, can embrace these digital solutions to actually help them in their businesses. And again, we do have some form of funding support to allow end users to purchase these solutions. Okay, so moving forward, all right, we want to continue to grow our local ecosystem. Okay, we are a small island. Ecosystem is small. We will continue to grow it. We continue to encourage the end users, the building owners, to embrace innovative solutions in robotics and automation. And to this end, we do offer a couple of schemes, not limited to these three, but these three in particular are helpful in the sense that the first one, Advanced Digital Solutions, in partnership with IMDA SMEs Go Digital program, we offer funding support for commercially available R&A solutions. So essentially, you can buy it and use it the next day. Okay? The next one, Productivity Innovation Project funding, that is administered by BCA. We are looking to improve productivity on site, so in the construction sites. So if you bring in innovative solutions, robotics and automation included, we'll support that as well, okay, to offset some of the costs incurred for investing in such technologies. The last one, Cities of Tomorrow R&D program. This is where we carry out our tech development for the medium to longer term. So again, for Cities of Tomorrow R&D program, we do support firms as well. All right, the IHLs, the universities are free to come in, and we do look into robotics and automation solutions development through the Cities of Tomorrow R&D program. We have completed our first grant call in late January. There will be an upcoming grant call in the next 2 to 3 months, so keep a lookout for it. Okay, so in summary, okay, so what we hope to do in terms of R&A, robotics and automation, okay, so again, we want to expand our industry network. Okay, so we have a small local ecosystem in Singapore. So we want to continue, okay, to nurture some of our local R&A solution providers. But at the same time, we want to keep our eyes wide open. We want to see what are some of the R&A solutions that are already available overseas. We want to bring them to Singapore, adapt them, and use them in our industry. And to this end, all right, we'll continue to work with our partners, our fellow government agencies, the industries, the solution providers, the universities, okay, to continue to grow this ecosystem and transform our industry. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.